we like to expand. And so we're here at a comic book convention, of all places.
Do you read comic books still?
I like to tell people, okay, do you know that thing where we always say, what's the one thing everybody would be surprised if they found out about you? Well, with me, I'm a comic book collector.
Comic book collector?
And I read.
Do you have the Little Lulu comics?
Do I have little Lulu comics?
Archie?
I don't.
Archie?
I have some Archies. I will confess.
That's my generation, though. You see, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, let's not talk what they've done with Archie. That's another talk.
Have we started something new?
Yeah, they have. They've rebooted Archie. Archie is, well, they have a different version where Archie is older, married. He actually one series he's married Betty, and the other one he married Veronica.
Good choices. I named my cat Veronica. It's a Marianne Ginger thing. Betty and Veronica.
So let's go there. Marianne Ginger. And it's funny, we were having this conversation on the ride down here, and it was. What do you think about that?
Well, I like it because Marianne always wins.
Which leads me to ask the next question. Why?
Well, because she would have been your best friend. She was dependable. She was the moral compass of the island, I think.
Yes.
She was fair. She was kind. Sherwood was smart enough to put me in short shorts. So they gave you a little sex appeal to that 14-year-old that was having his first crush. You had to be sort of sophisticated to take out Ginger.
You had to have money. Because the impression I always got was that Ginger was Hollywood,
Yeah.
which she was, which was with the gowns and the makeup,
And the glamour.
Mm-hmm. Whereas Marianne was just the girl you wanted to take to the prom.
That's right. And the marrying kind.
Which is why I'm saying the girl you wanted to take to the prom.
She cooked, she cleaned, she was fair. She was all those things.
So how did, I hate asking this question because I realize it was a character, but it was a defining character. So I got to ask this question. How did Marianne end up on the boat?
I wish I knew. There were many stories, whether she was a secretary and won a contest, where she worked in a grocery store. It was never really clear. She won a contest somehow. She obviously didn't have the money to go.
Right. I look back and I go, okay, the only two people who didn't make sense was the professor and Marianne.
They made the most sense.
But they didn't, they were on a boat that they...
For a 3-hour cruise or a 3-hour tour. I imagine maybe the professor was checking out the flora and the fauna. I think Marianne was just probably adventuresome and wanted to see. She'd never been away from Kansas.
She was our own little Dorothy.
Exactly.
Without Toto.
I know. Wish we'd have had him. Whatever it was.
So let me ask you this. If they rebooted Gilligan's Island, who would you want today to play Marianne?
They asked that in the movie. That was a hard one. They were talking about making a film. Oh, I'm talking 10 years ago. There was Jennifer Love Hewitt. There was 4 or 5 people. I said, I don't know, because I can't fit somebody today. Is there somebody today that's kind of that Marianne character? I mean, I'm not Marianne. Dawn is not Marianne. But I live by her code. Me personally. I was raised by a Marianne mother. My mother knew where I was every second. And I grew up in Reno, Nevada. Prostitution, gambling, divorce in 6 weeks, and Marianne came from there. I mean, my soul. Yeah. So I was raised a good girl. I went to church, got good grades. I was expected. I had chores. My mother paid attention. My parents were divorced. They were good friends. I never heard a bad word about either one of them, from either one of them. I had 2 families that loved me. But parents don't have time. That's why I wrote my book. They don't have, both parents are working now, or they're divorced families that are intermarriages, and maybe you're raising a 14-year-old girl of your own, and you marry somebody that has a 9-year-old little girl that mother didn't care about manners, so now there's a conflict in the house. It's much harder today. And even though I grew up in Reno, we played kickball on the street, and they'd say, it's 8 o'clock, your mother's looking for you.
The lights are coming on.
Yeah,
So that leads to my question. So what has Dawn Wells been doing since she got off the... Well, actually, you guys never got off the island. What has Dawn Wells been doing?
Well, I've been working as an actress all the time. I went back to the stage. I went back to theater, which I love, and I've done some films. I took care of my mother till she died at 96. I took care of an ex-husband who had leukemia. I've been dependable. I ran a camp up in Idaho teaching the art of acting on film and how to get the job. I run a family foundation in Reno where we have just donated enough money to open a museum in downtown Reno, which is where I'm born and raised, which all you think about is gambling. It's the Discovery Museum. We're connected with the Smithsonian, so we're providing all kinds of wonderful experience for children. I give back quite a bit.
So, well, let's talk about your camp. Today's, as a father of a teenage girl, who's a beauty queen and a college freshman and went through every play in high school she was in. Yeah, she did all of that stuff. But what advice would you give to young actors today who, for some reason, think, all I need to do is just show up and Nickelodeon will give me a job?
Well, that's stupid. I mean, you don't show up and learn how to fly a plane. You don't show up and learn how to some kind of a factory job. You have to learn what you're doing. It isn't just because you're pretty and somebody thinks they like you. You have to have your craft. You have to know your craft. And when I was in my camp, I'd say, have you read your contract? Learn how to read a contract. Someday you're going to get caught if you haven't done that. Have you done your research? How many plays have you read? How many times have you tried to do something you haven't been able to until you practice, practice, practice? It isn't about beauty. Oh, maybe to be a model it is, but to be a model you have to learn how to stand, what not to eat, how to take care of your complexion. It's a business, and it's show business, and you need to know the business. If you don't have the talent, that's tough.
But it seems like, and again, having dealt with this with my daughter, it seems like so many people, young people, believe that they're going to be the next, I can't even think of a Disney star off the top of my head, and they never realize no one really gets discovered overnight.
No, there's no such thing as being discovered. That's a fantasy. I mean, it really is a fantasy. You think she walked into Schwab's drugstore and somebody put her in a movie. Well, you do one movie, and if you haven't got the talent, you don't do the second one. I mean, I studied the whole time I was doing the series. I wanted to grow. I wanted to expand. My book, What Would Marianne Do Today? What would Marianne do today? She was marooned on the island and birth control wasn't even invented. Now, she was, okay.
No,
look what's happened. Whoa, it's a big deal.
Go
It's a big deal. And she was a helper. She pitched in. She did all those things. That's how I was raised. Now, the parents don't have that much time. I mean, one of the things, if your daughter is absolutely beautiful, this little girl was sitting next to me earlier, exquisite. I've never seen such a pretty face. I said, I'm going to say one thing to you. She said, what? I said, just say no. She said, what? I said, say no. You're going to get offered a million things because you're pretty. You're going to be compromised. Learn to just say no, thank you, and develop who you are inside.
But a couple of years ago, my daughter had an opportunity to meet an executive at CBS News because she wants to be a broadcast journalist.
I'd love to do that. Good for her.
And the thing that I remember that resonated with me was she said to my daughter, everybody in this business is pretty. You have to be good because beauty only lasts so long.
It gets you in the door, but it doesn't keep you on the job.
Keep you on the job. So let me ask you this, and I gotta admit my ignorance. I did not know you had done Broadway.
Well, I just did an off-Broadway thing. I have not really starred on Broadway. That's my next goal.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, but I don't know if I'll ever get cast. When I first came off the series, I read for something. They said, Marianne, what? I said, hey, there's a lot more to me than Marianne. I've studied, I've done drama, I've done a million plays. But Broadway's tough, and I don't sing. And you know what? You have to do almost musicals. My goal is I'm going to go out with Driving Miss Daisy in January.
Really?
Yeah.
Off Broadway?
Yeah, tour.
Really? You got to come to Boston.
Well, if they have me. I've toured the country and they're playing our song, Chapter 2, but I've never done Broadway. But that's kind of a Marianne role. Driving Miss Daisy is not. No. Jessica Tandy, there's a vulnerability, a fragile, and I'm old enough now. I don't have to play a leading lady.
But for the record,
I'm 102.
You do not look like Jessica Tandy. I know everybody out there watching this interview is going, there's some special effects going on. And I want to tell folks, she looks exactly like you look beautiful.
There's burlap over the lens that makes me look like I'm 65 instead of 90. No.
Special effects.
It's here.
But
it's all here.
So what are you going to bring to Driving Miss Daisy? First, let's ask, is it hard to take on a role that people remember?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I just did a couple summers ago Lion and Winter. and I couldn't get Katharine Hepburn out of my mind. It's pretty hard, because when somebody's really identified with something, you don't want to copy, but they're good enough that you know they found the soul of that character. You have to find the soul of that character anyway. Not so much in a musical, not so much in a comedy, you know. Yes, you do. You have to like anything Neil Simon does. You have to like the characters, but to be somebody totally different. And Jessica Kennedy, there's a fragility about Driving Miss Daisy, and the play is my age. I'm not my age in my head.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm not, and I still think I've got 50 years to go, which is probably stupid, but I don't know.
So to you, this is going to be an acting challenge,
No question.
because you're going to have to figure out how to act like an old lady.
Well, like a fragile woman. I took care of my mother, who never lost it here.
Okay.
Never lost it here. She controlled her life, but she was fragile and frail. And this is what this woman is, and she's losing it. And she doesn't know how to lose it. And when you're losing it, do you know you're losing it? But you want to make sure you're going to make that cup of coffee, because that's the way you did it before. And my mother never lost. My mother was smart as a whip, and because she never stopped. She never stopped. When she couldn't read anymore, she listened on tape. You know, and I think I'm always looking forward till tomorrow. What else do I have to learn? I would like to be a broadcaster. I want to do a radio show. I like topics. I'm a game player. I like conversation. I like to stimulate my mind, and I like friends that, I don't care what you're wearing. I don't care what purse is in. What is new, what to learn about. I had the best time here. I got lobster at the grocery store, heated and steamed, and I brought it back to the hotel. You don't get that in Hollywood.
Really?
No. We don't even have a fish market hardly.
See, we take that stuff for granted.
I know you do. I know you do. And your sports are fabulous. I'm a real football fan. I'm a Packer fan.
Well, okay, then we have a problem here, because
I'm sure we do.
no, I'm a Vikings fan.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
They may be coming to LA, they say.
That's not going to happen. The Vikings aren't leaving Minnesota, but I go way back to Fran Tarkenton days.
Oh, you do?
Yes,
My college sweetheart was a quarterback.
Oh.
I like the LA Rams. As a matter of fact, our quarterback, Roman Gabriel was in Gilligan's Island. He was played a native in one of those Hawaiian things with no shirt. Yeah.
All right.
Probably harder than passing the ball, probably.
Especially in a Hawaiian skirt, but that's so. Closing thought. What would you like folks to remember? What would you like folks to know about Dawn Wells today?
Oh, I think you all know too much. I think what you need to know is that I'm a good person, and I'm contributing in this world. I'm very proud of my book. I'm got a cookbook coming out. I'm very proud of the way my life has gone. I'm very lucky that I've had my health and intelligence, but I've worked at it. It doesn't just happen.
Could we grab the book? I want to show the book.
What would Marianne do today? If you were raising a kid today, they're all in their rooms with a computer. You don't know what's happening. Where are the manners? Do you have to be first in line all the time? If you fail, just keep failing until you learn it. There's some advice here, some good common sense.
So it's a guide to life. What would Marianne do?
If you fail until you learn it.
Keep running that play till you get it right.
That's right. They were talking to one of the big, I don't know, millionaires or something like that. What influenced you? The top 10 most influential men. And one of the men said, my mother at age 4. And he said, what? He said, she had her hands in the dishpan. I wanted a glass of milk. And she said, well, you can get a glass of milk yourself. So he opened the refrigerator. Obviously it was too heavy. And he said, I spilled it all over the floor. And my mother said, oh, well, you're going to have to clean it up eventually. Play in it if you want to. And he said, that taught me that you have a problem. It has to be solved. Do something that makes you happy and get through it. And that's kind of my philosophy.
I don't know what to say besides that. So I'm going to say thank you. Can I ask you to do me a favor? I work for elder service agencies in Boston. That's my real job. And we have a little thing called Boston Elder Info, where seniors can call to get help.
Yes.
Would you mind just simply saying, if you're a senior in Boston and you need help, call Boston Elder Info?
Elder Info?
Elder Info.
Okay, because I took care of my mom. You know, if you're the elderly here in Boston, you need somebody to call. and you need to call Boston Elder Info. Boston Elder Info. Write it down if you can't remember it.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
Take care. Thank you.